Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Rosemary Sneeringer, author of the beautiful book cover kit. Rosemary, welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me, Paul. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. Are you ready to get started?
I am.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Okay, first I just want to mention that I'm also shopping my latest book to agents. It's called Big Hair, Board Games, and Boyfriends, Longing for Love in the 80s. And I've been an editor since I was 24 years old, and my website is called The Book Nurturer. So about the advice, of course I'm going to say have a fantastic cover and a great title. And on my Book Nurturer site, you can see I have hired a title master, and she can create the perfect title for you with several of them to choose from, and that's on my website. And of course, my book gives you everything you need to know about having a beautiful cover, which is really the thing that gets people right away. Anyway, so the first thing I would say to inspiring authors is be kind to yourself. If you're not writing on schedule, there's no point in beating yourself up. If you feel really bad about your writing and you don't want to go near it because you're beating yourself up. So I've found that on a day when I'm inspired, I write much better and faster. And, instead of making myself, get dragged to the desk when I have no inspiration, then I have to go back and fix what I wrote, which takes more time. So when I need to do something and I'm not ready for it, it seems like a couple days later I have the energy for it and it gets done like 3 times faster and much, much better. So I just want to say the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up for not doing what you should, quote unquote, no more shooting on yourself. So I'm just going to say you'll have days where you're going to sit there with the blank page. And in general, I just say write when you're inspired and when you're energetic, and those times will sustain you for more days and more weeks. Also, keep a notebook or record into your phone when you have an inspiration or you have a funny line or you have an image. And I suppose that could mean taking your phone everywhere, because that's when the magic will strike.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, I feel truly that every agent and editor has certain passions. And if you're not in the category of what they're seeking, you may not be picked up. It's not your fault, and it doesn't mean there's anything specifically wrong with your book. We all know the publishers are shrinking. There used to be at least 100 of them, and now there's like 5 going down to 4. So I would also... it could also be an editor saying, we published something like this a year ago and it didn't sell, or those types of books aren't selling right now. Then sometimes a book or a movie is successful and suddenly they want that genre, we need another Gone Girl, things like that. Don't let any of that bother you. Focus on how happy you're going to feel when you are published. Be positive. So that said, get a critique, get a professional edit, have a professional proofreader, and learn from the comments and suggestions that you get. After that, have a few people read it. Everyone has an opinion, so use your discernment. You're not going to change everything if you don't agree with the critique. I would say if 5 people all agree you need to fix something, fix it.
And let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, I would say number one for me would be whether you have a traditionally published book or a self-published book on Amazon, ask everyone you know for a testimonial. You can't have enough great reviews. If you have enough money, go to regional places, or sometimes people go to the main cities if they can do that. A lot of times a publisher will give you a month, and if you're doing great, they'll give you more money for another month. Think about in between cities, you know, what do they call second tier cities? Because sometimes people are just thrilled to be able to see these great authors, even if they're not in a major metropolitan area.
Now, for your book, was it traditionally, you said it was traditionally published, or did you self-publish it?
No, I self-published. It's an ebook.
Got you. So you bring up a great strategy talking about the different cities to tour and promote your book. We've actually had a few guests that have talked about that, and that does seem to be a very effective strategy.
Yeah, people, you'll find that there are book clubs or places where they invite an author every month. There's one here in Boise, as a matter of fact, and you'll find these places, and you can do your own research, and then the people whoever are hosting you, they'll be glad to ask people, and you'll be surprised at really how much help you'll get with that.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Okay. I have a lot of favorite books, but the last one that I read that blew me away was called I Capture the Castle by Brodie. It was such a great surprise to read an amazing book, because it hadn't happened to me in a long time. Brodie wrote 101 Dalmatians, and this book is enchanting, and it transports you into another world, which is really the best type of book, in my opinion. I also love coming-of-age books, and this has a really smart and witty 17-year-old narrator who's living in a destitute, quirky family in a decrepit castle in England, and she's the smartest of them all. And in this book, you get to feel love on the page, which is a very hard thing for an author to accomplish, and you're rooting for the protagonist all the way. I used to be a romance writer agent, so it's difficult to really get a reader to feel all those feelings, and Brodie really did it. So I was up till 3:00 in the morning finishing the book. I loaned it to a friend, and she texted me saying, I don't want this book to end. So what I learned from this book, apart from, really how hard it is to get people's emotions engaged when you're talking about love or first love or something like that, I learned a lot about pacing from this book. It was pretty flawless, except for a little patchwork they did with the father's drought with writing at the end. That didn't work. But the other thing I would say about this book is, and let me give you the title again, I Capture the Castle. I don't recommend watching the movie or mini series or whatever it was. It's just all surface plot with none of the nuances of the characters. So read the book.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, first, for me, something that resonates is what you think of me is none of my business. And also Better Weird Than Bored by Bashar, right? To be your original self, to be unapologetically you, that's your greatest asset. So the more honest and vulnerable you are, the better. Now, people would think, no, you have to be the perfect person and always know the answers. But owning your mistakes and the stupid things you do are actually endearing to other people because it makes them feel comfortable. So I would say, people who drone on and talk about how great they are, and, they're the ones who are afraid that people won't like them and people will criticize them, so they're not really showing their true face. So the people who matter are your people, right? Not everyone will be your people, and that's fine. You can't please everybody, nor would you want to.
Yeah, I remember hearing that quote many years ago. I think I was in high school at the time when he talked about what people think about you is none of your business, and it's absolutely correct.
Right.
I think we focus so often on people that don't like us. Like, why waste your time on that? Focus on the people that love you and care about you, and the heck with the rest of them. Focus on your family and your friends and your circle of trust versus the other people.
Yeah, and saying that, you really bring up a great point, which is the more human you are, the more you're going to connect with other humans. You're going to okay, she does the same stupid things I do, and then there's a bond there.
Yeah, I think the current phrase, they refer to it as spirit animal, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Finding your spirit animal. It seems to be the big phrase these days. I love friends like, hey, I found my spirit animal. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, everything's getting spiritualized now, with all the blogs about that right now, they're coming up with quotes like that.
Well, Rosemary, I want to thank you for being a guest on this show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Yes. I just want to mention that my website is called thebooknurturer.com, but I also have another site called roseofla.com, where I offer several free methods to shift your energy positively. As you can see from what I'm talking about, I'm all about positive energy. And I have a free report on how you can have more time for yourself and more pleasant time for yourself, and a free course called 10 Minutes to Transformation. So I invite you to check that out, so you can be more inspired with your writing, to be more centered, not scattered, to uptick your energy so you have more excitement about your writing, and to be more authentically you.
Well, thank you again for being a guest on our show today, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.